here. Hi. There we go. Hi, I'm Dean Venderman, and this is our MAD PD session on formative assessment using Go Formative. And I'm lucky today to be joined by fellow Go Formative certified educator Louis Oliveira. How did I do on the name? Am I getting better?
It was pretty close.
It was pretty close.
Oliveira.
Oliveira. I should know that. We had a good chance, Louis and I, to do a podcast a couple of months ago, and it was really great. So I'm really honored that Louis decided to jump on board with me for our MAD PD moment. And yeah, we're just going to have a little conversation about formative assessment, and then take everybody and show how we use Go Formative as a tool for formative assessment. So, Louis, are you ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's rock.
Awesome. So, Louis, do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself before we jump in?
Absolutely. So I work with English language learners, part of my school day, and I'm a director at a high school in Middletown, Rhode Island, in the States. And so the rest of the time I'm working as from an administrative perspective. And so that keeps me really busy, and the day goes by really fast with different stuff that goes on. So I work with students, and I also work with colleagues, with adults. So I get both worlds.
Awesome. Yeah. Sorry?
I was just going to say, I've been doing it for 28 years and loving it.
Well, you must have started when you were really young, maybe when you were 10.
Yeah. Well, thanks. The gray hair would say otherwise,
yeah,
but thanks.
No, yeah, and again, a little bit about myself. Again, my name's Dean Venderman, and I teach in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And right now, I'm mostly teaching high school, and I teach high school math, and I have some social studies. And yeah, I've been teaching for about 22 years now, and I don't know, just a blur. It's been a great journey, and I've just loved it. And one thing that I've been learning a lot more, about the last few years, and taking a lot more, of a deeper examination to it, is formative assessment. And I really think formative assessment is just, it's the, I think it goes back to like Latin, which assessment means actually to sit beside the students, rather than, always we kind of think it's an end-to-end means, like it's just that, you assess somebody and then the learning stops, where this formative assessment should be part of the journey and the growth, and, with the growth mindset, and, realizing that our mistakes are great learning opportunities. And also, when we do formative assessment, we should already know how students are going to do on a summative assessment, because we've been part of their journey and we see where they're at. And so when they do something like a summative assessment, it shouldn't be the first time we ever see these students display their learning in action. Louis, how do you feel about formative assessment?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it. I see it as a bunch of small little steps along the learning process, and those assessments give me and other teachers little pieces of information that help us make decisions. Do we go forward? Do we need to backtrack? Do we need to reteach? Did the students understand, or do we have to spend a little more time on it? What areas do they already know? To me, sometimes a little formative assessment is just a way to gauge what the students know already, their prior knowledge, even before we start the lesson, so that I don't unnecessarily teach things that I really don't need to. So it's a lot of little pieces that come together during the learning process.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. And I also think, and I know from talking with you before, it definitely strengthens our relationships with our students. And they realize that we're more of a learning facilitator or coach, and trying to help them out by differentiating learning based on what we learn from them through the formative assessments. And they become, definitely, I've seen and noticed better risk takers, and they're okay. And they realize that learning is a journey, not just a destination to where you're going. And I definitely agree with you 100%, where formative assessment it's changed the way I look at my classroom, and how to, they say, go back or go forward, depending. I know sometimes, we get constraints with, testing and grades and all type of thing, but if you definitely take the dive into formative assessment, that stuff will actually come as well. And it's definitely worth the time that you invest in doing it. Would you agree with that, Louis?
I absolutely. You broke up a little bit there for a second, but
Sorry.
I think I was able to follow what you were saying, and the time invested is really worth it because you save so much time in the end. There's nothing worse than teaching a lesson and waiting for only giving a summative, and then you find out that 3/4 of your students didn't really follow what was going on, and then you have to go back and do it all over again. It's much easier to give them that formative, do the check at that moment in time, see where things are good and where things need to be revisited, and it saves you a lot of time in the long run. And I think even more important for me is, like you said, those student relationships are really important, and the students don't see us as the trying to get them at the end. They see you as more like, like a doctor would. They try to check to see where the problems are, and then try to fix them. So it's more of a team relationship than it is the let's see what you know at the end.
Right. Yeah. Definitely not trying to trick them or, make them guess or whatever, for sure. So I love what you're saying about formative assessment. So what are some tools that you use for formative assessment?
Well, obviously, Go Formative is a big one, but I do have a few other tools that I use as well. With my English language learners, I use Flipgrid quite a bit. I think we talked about that the last time we had a discussion, and the reason why I do that is because it's a great, easy way to not only assess but also to monitor their oral proficiency. I'm able to record the videos, and I can put together in what they call a mixtape. I can put together a video from September and October and November, and then not only for me to see their growth, but for the students themselves to see the growth. They can sit down and listen to themselves in September and listen to themselves in March and go, hey, I do sound better. My pronunciation has improved. I'm using a lot more vocabulary. I'm able to get my message across. That knowing that and seeing that is really valuable. And one of the reasons I love formative is because of the fact that I can have the students record their audio. I can have them practicing on listening skills. I can have a recording of me and they listen to it and respond to it, whether in writing or in oral speech itself. There's so many different things that can be used. And I just started using a tool not too long ago called Wakelet. I'm not sure if you're familiar. I think you're an ambassador, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. And it's funny because we seem to be kind of hanging around the same places, and it's because these tools are just phenomenal with helping students. Another place for kids to put resources, you can add those videos in there. You can put resources that the teacher drops in there for the students to use. With my university students, I just started using it so that way they collect resources during the semester, and they then can use those with their students when they start teaching. So there's some amazing tools out there. OneNote is another one that I absolutely love.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Exactly. And yeah, we do have some of the similar tools in our toolbox for sure. I really liked one thing that you really commented on, especially when you had the students self-assess. And I think that's something that we need to do more for students instead of just waiting for us to give them a grade or something like that. I really like what you said, where they would listen to their own self and see what they've improved on or what they might need more improvement on. Because that's exactly where we want to get these students, is to be lifelong learners and be reflective learners and that. So I just, it was so amazing what you had to say with that too. Another thing I really like what you were saying is that I could tell, actually, I'm going to be doing a presentation soon too on how it is to be a connected educator. So I'm really glad you're part of my personal learning network, and I'm glad I've reached out and connected with you. And actually, I'm using Wakelet to organize all my materials to do my presentation on that. So yeah, it was really cool to hear you say that. But I know one tool that we use together quite a bit is Formative, Go Formative. I always refer to it as Formative, I think sometimes. Even they're called formatives.
I think we all do that.
Yeah. So I know you have a few examples of how you use Go Formative. So would you mind sharing a few of the samples you have?
Sure, Ray. Fingers crossed. Let's hope that this works. So a while back, Ashley Winkle and David Kwan, who are also
Oh no, you froze on me, Louis, for a second there. I hope we're okay, because I are right into hearing you saying David. Well, hope Louis gets frozen there. This is my luck today. I've been doing a couple of things in this, but yeah, I know Louis has some really amazing formatives. So hopefully he kicks back in right away, because he has some really cool things to share. And but we are talking about Go Formative, and if you do go to Go Formative, it's a great tool. There's a lot of ways to embed other things inside too. So one thing I hope that we'll get to show right away will be some of what Louis has. But let me just see if I can, and hopefully Louis kicks back in here. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to put up a couple of things that I have done, and hopefully, oh, it says Google Chrome not responding. I don't know. We'll have to see if I'm just checking out the live version. I know it's a little bit delayed sometimes, and I think I'm having some bad luck maybe too, but we'll see. I want to share my screen. Oh, Louis is back. Oh, hello, Louis.
Yeah, I just got, I don't know what happened. Like what often happens with technology, I got kicked
Yeah.
out of the Wi-Fi.
Well, now it says to me, Google Chrome Hangouts not, but I see our thing is still working on the live, but oh, my computer now is giving me
So
the, but you go ahead
are
and
we still
share.
live?
Yeah.
All right, let's try this again. Let's try this again. Okay, so share. Are you able to see it?
Um,
It's saying I'm screen sharing.
yeah, I think you're going to be okay.
Are you able to see the great ways to use Formative for ESL?
I can see it on my screen. Oh, yeah, we're good.
All right. So as I said, Ashley Winkle and David Kwan and I put together some ways of using using Formative with English language learners, and so here are some of the things. Ashley created these, and this first one is letting students practice their listening and reading skills with music, and you can actually upload. You can now upload music files and have the students listen and then respond to it. She also uses Edpuzzle, and I don't use Edpuzzle, so but she uses Edpuzzle, and she embedded YouTube videos into some of the formatives, practicing reading and resequencing with lyrics, using music lyrics. So you basically, have some music lyrics, and then you have the students either respond to questions or complete lyrics is another way of doing it. And there are all different kinds of questions that you can use with formatives, such as resequencing, show your work, oral responses, written responses, short responses, long responses. So here's another activity where students practice vocabulary with video, and then do a close activity worksheet that goes along with the video. And this is a YouTube video that was embedded directly into the formative. And again, here you can see some of the short answers. You can see some long answers. And one of the things that is cool is you can actually set up in the formative, you can set up the questions and then put the question to the side, and you can number the questions according to different parts of the document that you're using. And you can use a PDF document and input a PDF document and then set up the questions numbering and the questions themselves based on that PDF. So practicing speaking by participating in a conversation shop. So basically, the way she set this piece up is she had the students having a conversation back and forth. Great for language learning. I'm also a certified Spanish teacher, and this is something we do all the time. So having the students have mini dialogues, mini conversations back and forth, and you can see that there's audio response 8, audio response 9, or in the different audio responses that would be linked to the prompts that the students would have. So one says, excuse me, and then good morning, how can I help you? And then the other student responds to that prompt by recording. So one student would record the questions and the next student would record the answers. So they're having this practice of vocabulary, practice of content. And there's a few more here. I'm going to get down to the ones that that I put together. So this is an example of just taking a simple image and having then the students describe the image, practicing their speaking skills if you have them record it, or their writing skills if you have them respond in writing to the questions. And David also created some of these, letting students practice their reading comprehension skills by identifying parts of an image. So you can actually say, okay, use blue and have the student circle an image, use blue to circle the student with glasses, use green to circle the student with crayons. So if you're working on different vocabulary, classroom objects, things of that nature, you can use some of the tools, the inking tools that you're able to use in Formative. So this is one that I made, and I use it both with my English language learners as well as with my university students to get to know them at the beginning of the semester, beginning of the year. And it just has things, basic things like, what's your name? For my university students, what is your major? Why did you choose to become a teacher? And then I have them give me information that allows me to get to know them a little better, but I'm also using different types of questions for them to see the types of formative questions that I will use throughout the year with them. And one of the things that I love is show your work, where I had my students, English language learners, actually put a flag of their country, insert an image of their flag onto the country, so we all get to learn also where each of the students in the class is from. And some are audio responses, some are responses to my audio that I recorded asking questions, and then they respond. And a very cool feature is you can even embed things like Flipgrid videos. So I embedded this whole grid for my students to actually go in and submit the responses right through the formative. They didn't have to go in and add another login. So these are some of the things that I've used. This one was when we were getting ready to do a unit on the Constitution of the United States. I wanted to find out what they knew, their prior knowledge, as I mentioned before. I wanted to know what did they already know about the Constitution and a little bit about our government. So I asked some questions, and I had them watch, one of my favorite, Schoolhouse Rock, on the Constitution, and answer a few questions after, and a little bit of brainstorming. And here's another example: just having students describe picture differences, whether you do have them do it in writing or you have them do it in orally in recording. Simple pictures. What is the differences? What are the similarities? What vocabulary can you talk about? So again, 5 differences that you see in the picture. Now record. So for this, I had them first write to practice their writing, and then actually record to practice their speaking. So these are just some of the examples that we came up with to help English language teachers with trying to help them understand formative, some of the things that formative can do. If you'd like me to show an actual couple examples from one of the ones that I did, I can show you the one with my university students. You can actually see a couple student responses if
Yeah, I
you
would
like.
love that. Well,
Okay.
only like it's kind of weird on my end. I have I can still see the recording on YouTube as we talk, but on my screen, it kind of it says Google Chrome not responding.
Oh
Yet I can
no.
hear you perfectly in that. So what I was going to try to do, but I didn't want to cut you off, and it looked like I was recording fine on the Google Hangout, but I was going to try to X out and hopefully come back and join you. So do you mind if I try that?
The only problem is what happens if you disappear completely.
That's what I'm worried about. But because right now I can't, because you cut off for a little bit and then I was talking and then I was going to, well, I'll share my screen and kind of fill it in so it'd be seamless. But then you came back and it was perfect. But then now my thing is saying it's just my luck today. But or I don't even like what you're doing, and what you're showing is perfect. And like I have some examples too, but if you want, you can keep going.
Why don't we jump to you showing what is on yours, and hopefully that'll clear things up. And then if there's time, then I can jump back in and show a couple more examples.
Well, that's the thing. I can't, like right now I have like a share your screen thing and it's stuck on there. So I can't share my screen unless I kick out. So if you want to finish up, like when I look at the Google Hangout, and this is something for people who are watching, sometimes you have glitches and you just roll with it. If you want to keep showing what you have, that's more than fine. And then if something happens, I'll try to go in mine. If something happens and we get kicked out, at least we have what you shared, and it's awesome what you're sharing.
And
so I'll let you keep
what
going.
What time were you running till?
Well, I was, like each session was supposed to like kind of fall in between like an hour, so it could be shorter or at an hour. The max was an hour. So I know we've been on for a little over 20 minutes. So if we only have a half an hour, that's fine. If we talk a little longer, that's okay too.
All right. So hopefully you'll come right back. And if you don't, I'll show a few more examples and I'll say goodbye to everybody. And then you'll have to figure out what it is you need to do on your end, because I don't know what happens on that end of things. But I'll continue and show some actual students' responses, and both at the university level as well as my high school English language learners, just to show some of what the student work looks like.
Well, do you have a stop broadcast button on the bottom of your screen too?
Right now, what I see is stop sharing.
Okay.
You want me to stop sharing so that way?
What I'm worried about is if I kick out, then the broadcast might
end.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. So I don't mind just sitting here and if you don't mind, share your couple of formatives, and then if maybe then I'll try to share mine. If not, it will end on you sharing, which is a positive note. But obviously I'd like to say thank you and all those good things. But if you don't mind, continue to share, and then when you're done sharing, I'll see if I can kick out and come back in. If not, that will be the end of our broadcast. And if it works out, I'll come back in and we'll kind of finish up with that. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. So I'm going to show. No problem. I'm going to show a little bit about me, which was the one that I mentioned earlier, trying to get some information on my students. This is I did with my university students from Roger Williams University in Rhode Island. They're future teachers. They're in the educational program, and the class is for technology, using technology in the middle and secondary classrooms. So this actually I'm now showing you the actual responses to the questions that I had asked. So one was, what is your name? And the students, here are their responses. And, how old are you? And these are just simple responses. Where are you from? And I have students from New York and Massachusetts, and one student from China, and one Rhode Island student. So it's a small group. This was the first semester that it was run in the spring. Normally it ran in the fall. So because the class already ran in the fall, there was very few students in the spring, but from now on, it will be in the spring every semester. So those numbers will increase, which was good for me because it was my first time doing it. And I was glad to have a small group. So what's your major was another question that I asked. Where is your field placement? Because they all get to to actually work with teachers in schools, and I wanted to know where their placement was. So this was record an audio response. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this. Okay, so now you could hear that there was some noise in the background because some students recorded right into class, and some students actually left the class to do the recording. It's good to try to get a quiet place when you have your students recording, and which one of the things that the Go Formative is great is that they can actually do it at home. So that way it's a quieter place to record. And so here's one where I asked them to either insert an image or draw a picture of how they were feeling at the moment. And you can, you get some funny responses. It's one of the things that I love about it. We have a hungry student. We have somebody who had trouble getting in, and he came up with whoops. You have one who was sleepy, who had just come from practice and was really, really tired. The class is 4 to 7 in the afternoon into the early evening. So, and we have one who actually inserted an image. So you also teaching some technology skills to the students: insert an image, use the inking, etc. And again, here are some oral responses, and Mr. Perkins did, and Miss Puck weren't able to figure out how to do the response, and there was a learning that occurred with that also. We were able to talk about what happens when things don't go right. How do you adjust to it? What do you do with your students? Because like we know, sometimes technology will fail. And they were not able to do the recording because of the device that they were on. They were using their phones and were not able to record it. So we learned something that the app was necessary to do that. They were trying to do it through Safari, and it didn't work well. And it's all part of the learning process. You figure things out, you adjust as you go along. So that was one of the examples. Another one that I used with my English language learners was, I just called it Happy Holidays. And basically it was welcome back from Christmas break. And I just wanted to know how things went. And I had them list 3 things that they did during vacation that they really enjoyed, and 3 things that they wish they had done but didn't. Often they come back and they say, I didn't do anything. So why didn't you do anything? What would you have liked to have done that you didn't do? And we did the one word, and the students chose their one word, and then they described how they were going to achieve that word. So if they chose kindness, how were they going to be kind during the year? If they chose patience, how were they going to improve their patience, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really interesting because the rest of the year, I often remind them, okay, so you said you're going to be more patient, and right now you're not being very patient. So let's remember that, and it's something that we use all year long. And then draw or insert a picture that represents your vacation. And so some of the questions are there. So let's go look at the student responses. And I have 2 classes with English language learners, and here are some of their responses to the things that they did. And you notice that sometimes you say to list 3 things, and they don't list 3 things because maybe their English isn't quite there yet. And if they list 1 or 2, and I'm psyched, depending on their level, in the differentiation occurs even in the formatives. So it's okay. And so here's some interesting responses to draw or insert a picture of things that represent your vacation. Okay, cool. So this young man, Celso, he put a green box, and I was like, what does that mean? And so he orally explained to me that just means that everything was everything was great. There was no problems. And, to me, I looked at green, I'm like, okay, I don't get it. But it gave me an opportunity to get him to orally explain to me on a one-on-one. And, And then this one, okay. So I got really scared when I first saw this, and then I realized, oh, it's the image that says fun. So you see the FU and you go,
Yeah,
uh-oh. And, it's something you take a chance, and you set
definitely.
it up so you see it, and you preview it, and you make sure that everything's good, because once in a while you get a student that might be a little adventuresome and want to be funny. So it's just a different way for kids, especially when they're first learning English. Some of them are not ready to respond in writing, but they can put in the picture that exemplifies their thinking, or they can put a few words to get their voice across. Um, with some of these tools, with a lot of these tools, like I said, with Flipgrid, and I use Newsella a lot, and Go Formative, and the students are able to start expressing themselves a little sooner than they normally would. The silent period
Right.
for my students is reduced, and to me, that's incredible.
Definitely.
So these are just a couple of the examples, and I can show you the Constitution one. So
This is great stuff.
I use the for the Constitution. I use the both. This is more of your traditional little assessment. So I'm actually trying to see information stuff, um, if they understood. But before I did that, let me jump back, and I think I already showed it, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Oops, wrong one. Sorry about that.
Where's the
I did the
video?
brainstorming one. So first I did the brainstorming, got some information on what they knew, gave them a little introduction to it, and then later on, during the lesson, I did the more formal quiz type, to see what the information they retained.
Right.
So you can also use formatives as an exit ticket. How comfortable are you? What did you learn? What are things that you're comfortable with? What are things that you need more information on? And it gives me, I don't have any of those up right now, but it gives me information on where to go next. So there's just so many different ways of using these awesome tools.
Yeah, no, I agree with you totally. You have some amazing examples. Thank you for sharing them. I just like the fact that when you use Go Formative, it's like a one-stop shop. Like the kids know where to go, and you can embed other things. There's enough tools inside of Formative to keep you going. But yeah, the fact that you can embed a flip grid or an ed puzzle or whatever, it's just great. Like kids like that they don't have to have like 5 different logins
Yeah,
or whatever. They go to the one place, they find what they need, and they get at it. And then the data that you get back is like you said, it's so paramount to how you teach now and how you build your relationships. And the kids realize now when they go to a formative, it's a place to learn and a place to experiment and take a risk and that type of thing. And so do we have to take the risks too.
absolutely.
So I really like what you're sharing there. And I don't know if I'll have a chance to share some of mine, but like in the math class, it really dictates how I teach. If I see like when I look at the feedback and if it's green, then I'm like, okay, I think you guys really got this. But when I see red, then I was like, okay, now I need to stop and teach
Yeah,
that. And I like to show your work because I'll compare and show different ways students are trying to tackle a question. And I really promote the process rather than the answer in that. And there's more than one way to do things. I've also done like a 3-act math play where I've made a video and then, okay, make a prediction, and the kids all type up their predictions inside of the formative. What other information would you need? And then they'd say, well, we need the length and the width or whatever. So you give them the data, and then the third act is that they would look and see how close their prediction came, and all those things. So there's so much you can do with it. I have actually a formative on formative assessment, doing all those type of things. But I would show it, but I just don't want to uh, wreck our conversation in that. But I think what you showed there, Louis, were some fantastic examples of how to use Go Formative for formative assessment. Those look like fun, and I think that your students are extremely lucky to have you in their corner. As their, as a leader, as a mentor, as a lead learner, it's really cool to see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky to have them too. I tell them all the time, I learn as much, if not more, from them than they do from me. The ability to learn about different cultures and how things are different. And we were talking about E2 before, and one of the amazing things about going to a conference like that is you get to see people from all over the world, and you get to see how similar we are and how different we are, and everyone getting along and working together in teams. It's amazing. That's kind of like with my classes. I'm very,
Yeah.
very fortunate.
No, I have a similar story, and I agree with you 100%. And like I say, I'm very fortunate, through being a connected educator and being part of Formative and stuff to be connected with you. You're very inspirational, and I love the fact that you're willing to share your stories and your experiences. It's a real honor. I appreciate that, my friend.
And I appreciate our connection as well. It's one of those great things about those global connections in places like Twitter and other social media that I used to think that Twitter was this place like like Facebook, where we were just going to waste some time. And
Right.
what I ended up doing is finding a group of educators, which is growing weekly, of people that are just passionate, and the ideas that are shared, and the connections that are made. And we Skype, and we're able to connect our classes. We're able to participate in different global projects together. You mentioned the logins. One of my favorite tools is Microsoft Teams for that exact
Yeah.
reason. I love the fact that I can now I can put formatives into Teams. I can put a Wakelet into Teams. I can put Flipgrid into Teams. I can put New Zealand articles. So all the tools that I use, because they're great tools, it eliminates all the extra logins, which
Yeah.
just helps my kids. I have a student right now who came from Guatemala, and he hasn't been in school since fourth grade because his family couldn't afford to send him. So the first thing I had to do was give him an English assessment on listening, reading, writing, and speaking, and it's on the computer. He'd never touched a computer before, so it's like the fewer logins, the
Yeah.
easier the technology is, the better. And that's why the tools that I use them because they're effective. They help students. They help me for organization. They help me with, in some cases, grading, all of those things. So they make my life easier. But most importantly, they're easy to use.
Yeah.
They're effective and easy to use.
Well, and I really like what you said too, and this might be a good way to wrap up our session. But yeah, you get lots of ideas from other people and stuff too. And I'm already looking forward to tomorrow night, getting on the formative chat. So if
Absolutely.
anybody's interested, hashtag formative chat. I think it's 7:30 Eastern, right?
It
I
is
think it's
7:30 Eastern.
because it's 5:30 my time right now. But then in the winter, there's an hour change. We're different here in Saskatchewan. You don't do use daylight saving time. But yeah, it's a half an hour that just starts off my week just great because I love hooking up with you and all the other great educators that go on there and sharing ideas and experiences and giving the encouragement and that it's really gratifying. Sometimes in the building I'm in, lots of great teachers here, don't get me wrong, but to go on there for a half an hour with you and the rest of the bunch, it definitely is a great community to be a part of. So I encourage anybody to tag on, get into Twitter, get onto that hashtag formative chat, and if you're not too sure what's going on, just sit there and watch and get TweetDeck going. And if you have any questions, reach out. But it's definitely a powerful way to start the week and a lot of great conversations.
It is. The positivity is the best part of it all, because sometimes we get stuck in a rut. And what I found is by being around more positive people, I'm able to be more positive in my environment, which then kind of spreads to others. And that's been really good all around. I think you should cross your fingers, and I'll cross my fingers, and I think you should give it a chance. Give it a try. It might
All
work.
right. All
I'd
right.
love to see your stuff.
If not, then thank you. But I'll give this a shot.
All right.
It's been an interesting day, but even just talking to you has put a smile on my face, so it's all good. So I'll
It's
give it
been
a
it's
shot.
been it's been great.
All right, I'll
So
try, my
hopefully
friend.
we'll continue, and if not, you have yourself a great night.
And if not, yeah, I'll catch you on Formative Chat tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll give this a shot. All right, I'm going to see if I can.
Are you able to hear me? Froze.
Oh, back.
There you are.
Seems like it's working. I'll have to see for a second if it's going to show back up on the TV. Oh, we might be in luck. Okay, we'll see.
You go right ahead. It's kind of strange because you froze there for a minute, and I can see you right now, but I don't see your screen.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Well, there's like two of me on here, which is interesting. Oh, I
Whoa,
bet.
there you
Oh,
go.
there I go. Wow. Okay.
If we're only that easy to duplicate ourselves, huh?
Well, I think it kept my old profile in when I closed, and now I came in, and okay, well, hey, let's see if this other part will work then. So, oh, all the things I had open is saying join, but I'll give it a shot and see. If not, it's all good. So I'll go screen share, and yeah, I'm not getting
Oh, there it goes. I
yeah,
see it.
there it goes. All right, so let's see. All right, so I'm just going to see if the other one. So this is one example that I use in my math class. So we use Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is a great tool. What I like about Edpuzzle is that you can put a video in and you can stop it at certain points. And for the kids to go on, they have to answer the question. So you kind of know if they watched it and you know where they got. So it's a great formative assessment tool as well. So you can be like, you can ask them a question, or you can just have it open under, do you understand this? And like I've even done it where I've hid like codes and stuff for like a breakout inside of an Edpuzzle. So they watched the video and they got the code through that. So it kind of was a nice friendly way to get to encourage them to watch the video. But in this one here, I've got a couple of Edpuzzles that the students would go into. I was able also here to do a quick thing and embed a GeoGebra app. So when they went in there, they could kind of experience slope for themselves and drag it around. So it was nice, again, that one-stop shop. And all you have to do is like hit on the plus sign, and you can see here the different tools that you have within Formative to add. Like Louis was talking about, the audio response, the show your work. This was the one that got me hooked on to Go Formative at the start. I'm not going to lie. The enhance a PDF doc and now a Google Doc. They've made another really cool thing. We're a Microsoft school. I don't use the Google Docs as much, but I know for those people that are using like Google Classroom and stuff, it's pretty cool the way they have the integration with Google Docs. But and there's the embed code where you can embed. And if you go to our, I can't remember, it's like an iframe generator. If there's something you can embed, there's like a site called iframe generator, and you can actually get code and you can, there's hacks around some of it. And that's why even the community that's involved, that if people would go up to the top here, you can get and go to the part of the community. And there's a really great group out there that is sharing ideas and how to improve Go Formative and tricks of the trade and all that you can go through. And I know, Louis, I've seen you post a few things in there too, so I thank you for that. I was just like seeing what, even if it, like, say I'm not teaching an English class, I love going in there and seeing what English teachers are doing and how they're using the tool. So again, here's my PDF thing with a different at. And what I like about this is, again, I can go to the view responses, and in a math class, for example, I can go totals, and it can tell me here who's doing what a little bit. And I can, in this, I see the majority of my students are doing well. There's a few students and I can always go in here and hide names. So I can put this up in front of the students too. I like what this is because I can say, okay, the vast majority of my students are understanding this student here and this student here. I can maybe pull aside and differentiate the learning for them, but looks like they're doing well. And again, I love the show your work, so I can see that it's just not they guessed it and stuff. So, and I like the one cool thing about formative assessment is the quicker you can give it back to the students and more in real time, the more effective the formative assessment is. So the fact that these students can kind of see where they're at right away and then figure out, okay, I need a new strategy or work backwards or what have you. That's what another really great selling point of using Go Formative is, just that instant feedback, and you can type in feedback and you can, which is great. And there's so many things, and it just keeps growing what Formative does. And you can export your marks, you can have a tracker and see where you're at with the different standards. And that's so it's really robust what you can do with it. Yeah, with a 3-act math play, like I was saying, I made a video. We were talking about slope, and then what students were able to do in here, I could just say in here is like, text blocked, act 1. And then, oops, cat. I could put act 1 in there, and then, I can say, what do you think the slope is? So then when you hit the plus, then you can have just like a short answer question. And then here, students would put their guesses in. I could also have typed it in there as well. But just a quick thing of how easy it is to set up a Go Formative as well. And I teach a social studies class. You can do an order. So this was a lot of fun. Like, what social science do you think is the most important, right? There's no right or wrong answer with it. But what they can do with this is and then you can show up on the screen students' different responses, and then say, oh, why did you pick history? Oh, do you know you picked history too? And that type of thing. So, even something like a map quiz, you can put on here and get a map of the world. I know, Louis, you showed a couple of examples like that too. Or even just a quick thing like an emoji exit ticket. So these kids can go in and when you preview it, they can go in and they can circle how they're feeling and why. Just a quick check-in, build that relationship, get the idea of where the kids are going with that. So those are a few of the examples that I thought I'd share a little bit. I also had, I think this is it here too. This was my formative assessment on using Go Formative. So again, you can embed pictures, you can put a whiteboard in there, you can embed videos, a lot of things that we already kind of mentioned too. For your math teachers, you can import graphs in there. They even have a good math editor, equation editor you can put in now, and it keeps getting better. Again, you can embed quizzes. There's the Ed Puzzle again. You can do things like Padlet and embed in there, put links to different things. So much that you can do. There's Flipgrid in there as well. And you can just put links in that. So it's kind of, your one-stop shop, for sure. And I've shared this in our library that we have on Go Formative. So if anybody's interested, they can always go to the library and check it out too. So I hope that added a little bit. I'm going to stop my screen sharing and see if we're back. All right.
You're back.
No, it's been an interesting day, but it's ending on a positive note, so I'm pretty happy about that.
That's right. And see, you were ready to just not try it, and this is why it's great to have people to encourage you, and that's that community that we were talking about, and
Exactly.
some great ideas there. I absolutely am going to grab that Go Formative on Go Formative.
Cool.
It looks very cool, and I have to remember next time I teach the university course, math is the toughest one, and I had several future math teachers that I would have loved to have had you guest speak, and could have showed them Google Hangouts or Skype so next spring,
Anytime.
you're going to get a call, man.
Anytime. I would be an honor, my friend, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, and like the other session I was going to do too, I use Minecraft in my math classroom too. So we end up doing things like we're learning about slope. We're building roller coasters. So you build a positive, a negative, a horizontal, vertical, and that. So yeah, there's always so much you can learn, and that's part of, like you said, being we expect our students to learn, and that we have to be leading that way too, and we need that formative assessment as well.
Yeah, I used to get on my son for spending too much time on Minecraft, thinking that it was just a waste of time, valuable time, and then you start showing me the different things that you can do with Minecraft, and it's just absolutely amazing.
Well, one thing I was going to show is like my students made this in Minecraft, and I was able to 3D print it. So we talked about surface area and volume, and even in Minecraft right now, I'm doing a unit on ancient civilizations. So this is an Aztec temple that my students made, and they put little NPCs down, and they have their own little worlds and stuff. So yeah, there's so many things that you can do. But it goes back to what you said earlier is that, but building the relationships and like in any relationship, you gotta, take a risk sometimes, and you gotta lead, and you can't always, and you gotta grow, right? And that's what it's all about.
And that's one of the great things about technology and the ability to connect is it's impossible to know every tool. It's impossible to know how to do everything. And one of the benefits of being connected is if your students have an interest in something and it's not your thing, like if a student wants to know Minecraft, I can reach out to you. I can reach out to different folks for different things based on, the connections that I made and just finding out about the awesome things that people are doing out there. So it just makes us stronger.
Yeah, you're amazing. I'll have to send you my wakelet that I made like Tuesday. Like there's a town in Saskatchewan called Saskatoon. It's a 2-hour drive north, and it's like Saskatchewan has 1 million people in total, and the city I live in, we're the capital city. We have about 230,000. They have about 260 or 280,000, a little bit bigger because they're the university city. But I'm doing a presentation up there on the benefits of being a connected educator. So
see that?
Maybe I'll have to maybe show a little clip of you and I talking here again, just two educators that are trying to get better, have met and had a connection and sharing ideas and stuff. It's beautiful. It's the way education and way learning should be, in my opinion. So I'm very grateful.
And I'm very grateful as well.
All right, Lou. Well, maybe on that note, because it's a positive note, and I need that today, we'll end our broadcast. And if if people end up watching this and have any questions for us, you can definitely reach out to us. We're both on Twitter. I'm at Vendy55, and actually, Louis, what's yours again? Because I think we share a little bit of the same tag.
It's at L Oliveira 55, and Oliveira is spelled Oliveira.
Perfect.
I always tell people an olive followed by the IRA.
That's a good way to remember. I shouldn't forget that from on now, but hopefully we can have some more conversations like this. Like I say, it's an honor to talk to you. And it's definitely the whole day with this is to make a difference. That's what MAD PD stands for. And I know, Louis, just talking to you, you make a difference for sure in your students' lives and other educators' lives too. So it was a perfect day to have this conversation with you. So thanks again.
It was a pleasure, my friend.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.